right now I'm at basically I-36, Highway 36 that goes up to Boulder, and this is Sheridan Avenue behind me. And there's just pretty much all of the suburban conveniences that a person could ever ask for right here. Actually, I just got a new memory card for the camera that I'm shooting this on at this Best Buy right here. So convenient. And that, among other things, Westminster is all about. How's it going, my friends? My name is Jesse Lynch, and I work with the hardest working real estate team in the game. We're called Welcome to Denver, and you can check out our website, welcometodenver.co. But this YouTube channel is all about helping you find a place to call home, a place to land here in beautiful Denver, Colorado, the Front Range of Colorado in general. Today, specifically, Westminster, Colorado. How many times can I say Colorado? I think that's now 5. But that's whether you're buying a house for the first time or relocating here from a different city, state, country, planet, dimension, realm, universe. So first-time home buyers and relocations, that's what we do, that's what we focus on, that's what we specialize in, and that's what we do better than anybody else. So if any of that appeals to you, do me a favor, do yourself a favor, subscribe to this channel and click the little bell to get notified so you can see every time we put out videos just like this. And if you wouldn't mind, give the video a thumbs up, say something nice or helpful or funny in the comments. I would appreciate that very much, as people are probably just driving by me, looking at me like I'm a weirdo, which, fair enough, not totally wrong. And I say this every video, but I mean it. If you're thinking about moving here, get a hold of us, we'll crush it for you. If you already live here and you're just trying to buy a house, get a hold of us, we'll crush it for you. Nobody will work harder for you than we will. You can go to our website, welcometodenver.co. We have a contact form there that you can fill out in like 30 seconds or less, or you can just shoot us an email directly to info@welcometodenver.co. They lead to the same inbox, so totally up to you how you do it. We just ask that you do it. And I know that so far I've only been in, you know, commercial spaces, which are, these are like the ultra suburban, just like all of those chains that you would expect out of a suburb. And then, I mean, and then some, because there's just so many. But I promise you, Westminster is way more than this. Westminster is a pretty great spot. Let's dive in.
Here right across the street, so behind us is Stanley Lake, which is massive. It's one of the few spots in the greater Denver area where you have a big lake with mountain views. Yeah. So very, very pretty. That's behind us. We're across the street at an off-leash dog park, which is super popular, not just for dogs. People are out here running, walking, and of course a lot of dogs. In front of us, you can see the Boulder Rockies and then the whole Front Range, and then just like thousands and thousands of acres of open space.
It is huge.
So it's a really cool spot to be. There's dog parks, there's trails, there's mountain biking trails all over this area. And then of course, the most popular spot is gonna be the trails that go around Stanley Lake behind us.
Yeah, a beautiful lake, tons of parking, just super easy to get to. And crazy to think that we're as close as we are to Denver.
Yeah, people think we don't have water here, but we do.
Yeah.
There's a big lake behind us.
Yeah. And yeah, so here in Westminster, we're sort of situated, you know, 20 minutes northwest of downtown Denver, really quite accessible to downtown. I think where we are now is probably closer to 30 because we're further out west, yeah. But still very, very accessible, and probably 30-ish or more minutes from the airport. So again, not super far from anything, and I would say quite convenient to downtown. And Westminster is like an interesting like type of suburb because it's pretty huge, and the lifestyles available to a person and the neighborhoods available to a person range dramatically. It reminds me of Aurora. It almost reminds me of Denver in that regard, where it's like you, depending on where you are in any of these spots, you'll have a very different experience, different sort of aesthetics to the area and all that. Right where we are right now, particularly beautiful. One of the most beautiful, like, open park spaces, I don't know, this close to Denver anyway.
Yeah, with these views.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard to generalize Westminster. There's a lot of videos of suburbs we post where we can generalize everything.
Yeah.
But Westminster, it really, you know, anyone that would ask about a certain house, I'd say, where is it? It
Yeah.
You know, depends. And Westminster doesn't really have like a downtown like a lot of suburbs that we make videos on, but you have access to, depending on where you are in Westminster, you can be super close to downtown Arvada, or you're on the side that's closer to downtown Denver. So it really just depends where you are in Westminster.
Yeah, there's like a massive suburban sort of amenity hub, but that's not like a downtown. There's not really, there's really not any like, quaint downtown at all, but there's tons of stuff.
Your commercial shopping, you have it all.
Yeah, but obviously, like, not many people are like, cool, let me live right by, you know.
Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart. Exactly.
King Supers.
Yeah.
And what Westminster is, as we were just saying, you know, it's very big. It's actually the 8th largest city in Colorado. But it's also the 16th most diverse. So there's a lot going on in Westminster. It's had a, 1.75% increase in just the last couple years.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is just heading out west, heading further north. You know, we're actually like 20 minutes from Boulder right now. So it's far enough up that way, but it's also very, very conveniently placed in between. We always like to talk about the schools, and the schools here are a little complicated, so apologies. There's 3 school districts that serve Westminster, as though it couldn't be any more complicated. So Jefferson County School District, that serves the entire western half of Westminster. So where we are right now, that's the highest rated schools in Westminster. So again, get out to the west, schools are rated higher, houses are probably more expensive. And yeah, it's also ranked the 6th best school district for athletes in Colorado. So out here is definitely desirable from a school standpoint. Then sort of the northern portion of the eastern half, so annoying, is served by Adams 12 5-star schools. That gets a B+. So still pretty good schools. It's the 17th most diverse school district in Colorado and the 38th best school district in Colorado. Then there's Westminster Public Schools, which I think is partly, like, some people might have an opinion of Westminster, and sometimes I think that might be related to the southeastern portion, which is much closer to the city. It definitely feels a lot different from this. And those schools get a C, and that serves so that the southeastern, I don't know, the southern portion of the eastern half. So annoying.
Right, so they're not terrible.
Yeah.
But we know most people that have kids, they want the best schools.
Yeah.
So that southeastern portion is the only portion that's not the best.
Yeah, a C is like, you know, we don't see that super often in the suburbs in Colorado. So just, you know, internalize that as you're looking at the map, you know, keep that all in mind.
Degrees.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for those A schools, Ralston High School, which is in Jefferson County, gets an A. And then Legacy High School also gets an A, and that's in Adams County.
Yeah, and there are a bunch of, you know, like A-, B+ schools throughout there, but those are kind of the hits. Those are the only two A schools that we could find that serve Westminster proper.
So Ralston and Legacy, if you look in those neighborhoods, your kids are going to the best schools in Westminster.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think, you know, home prices are going to pretty much follow suit. Like almost always, you can follow the school grades, and homes are going to be priced sort of accordingly. So the cheapest homes in Westminster are going to be in that southeast quadrant, and then probably the northeast quadrant is going to be next up. And then this whole western half that we're in right now, that's where the most expensive houses are going to be. Huge ranges. The median is honestly a little misleading in my opinion because it's so big. Median is $565.
Yeah, I feel like Westminster, we can't say it depends enough, but
Yeah.
I guess that is a fair median, because there are some really awesome townhomes and stuff and condos
Yeah.
that you can get here that are closer. They're in the 4s. You can get a really great townhome in the 5s. But don't let that number fool you. You know, houses that are gonna have the Stanley Lake views and these mountain views, those get quite above 600K.
Yeah.
So it really just depends. You can get a house in Westminster probably still in the 400s. But you can also find them, you know, upwards of $1 million easily.
Yeah, there's actually a 3.2 million house on the market right now, which, hey, if you want to buy that, let us know. I'd love to just look at that place. But yeah, it's very much like a tale of like different sort of feelings throughout the space, throughout the area. 35% of the people who live in Westminster rent, 65% own. Again, those rental rates are going to be higher in that southeast quadrant. But you know, all in all, there's a lot of really, really beautiful parts of Westminster. There's some maybe like, I don't know, uglier, boring, suburban-y stuff, but you know, I don't know, it's
There's
huge.
some really old neighborhoods, but there's some beautiful updated houses in those really old neighborhoods. And there's also new communities.
Yeah.
The Stanley Lake proper areas are all going to be older, but there's some beautiful, beautiful neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Old does not mean bad or ugly. It just means they've been established.
Yep. Yeah, and cared for over time, and yeah, there's different versions of old for sure. But all right, let's go for a drive, and then we can talk through pros and cons, because yeah, it's pretty I think a pretty thorough list of pros and cons. So.
Yeah.
Right now we are basically on a little walking path, a very nice little walking path by a little pond in the Legacy Ridge neighborhood, which is in that sort of like northeast quadrant that we were talking about. And it is beautiful. There's like a golf course, country club kind of situation over here. And these houses are pretty gigantic, and it's like pretty immaculately maintained all throughout. And we're just walking through here to talk through the pros and cons of living in Westminster. And for me, the first one is that there are just beautiful outdoor spaces all throughout.
Speaking of water and mountain views, you know, this is just a neighborhood that has a beautiful pond. A lot of the houses are backing up to it. As Jesse was saying, very well maintained. This will be one of those neighborhoods that has an HOA that's actually beneficial. There's a golf course down the street. There's 2 different parks. Windsor Park is also right behind us. So it's one of those neighborhoods that kind of has it all. Golfing, parks, pond, well-maintained, beautiful houses, a trail that goes right behind the neighborhood.
Yeah, and then of course you have things like Stanley Lake, where we were at just earlier, which is massive, sprawling, open space, and you know, totally different experience than like this, but still that green space, that open space, that dog walking space, that kid, you know, running space, super nice to have. And I think Westminster has a ton of that. They also have another pro, all of the suburban amenities. It's like the ultimate suburb in terms of chain suburb amenities.
Well, and I know that can sometimes turn people off, but if you think about it, if you're buying a house, if you have kids, you have a HOA that's going to have a pool, a clubhouse, a gym, you have parks. Yeah, having everything in your neighborhood, I think, should be a huge pro for a lot of people. And then if you do want to venture out, the great part of being in Westminster is you are not far from Boulder and you're not far from Denver. Some suburbs, you're always going to go to Boulder to venture out, or you're always going to go to Denver because it's significantly closer. Where here, you know, 20-ish, maybe 30 minutes, you can go to either one.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to have those options to pick, because they obviously both have awesome downtowns. You'll never run out of options in either downtown. So it's pretty cool to be right in the middle of both.
Yeah, if you're working in either one also, really nice to have access to both. Like,
some people don't know if they want to live in Boulder or Denver, so Westminster is a good in between.
yeah, or some people come out here, maybe one of them has a remote job and the other knows they're going to find a job. There's employment in Boulder, you know, some like tech and nutrition, a lot of like that stuff in Boulder. So to be able to be somewhere where you can, you know, access both is definitely a pro. Which actually, I think another pro is that there's kind of something for everyone in Westminster. Westminster could be like a town in the middle of nowhere, Colorado, and like it would still be like sort of complete and diverse in housing stock, in, you know, school options. There's just so much going on here.
Type of housing,
Yeah.
diversity, I mean, yeah, you're right. That's a good way to put it. If you just plopped it in the middle of nowhere, you'd have everything you need.
Yeah, yeah. I think, you know, with the something for everyone, obviously we're at fairly expensive homes right now, but there are pretty affordable homes here. Actually, I would say there are very affordable home options, mostly in that southeast corner. But there are, even not within that southeast corner, there are still pretty good affordable housing options.
So on top of being able to find something affordable here, there's really both ends of that. If you want a luxurious home that has the very rare and desired views of the mountains with the sun setting over the Rockies, but also there's water views of Stanley Lake, you go out west towards the mountains and you can find that. And they're very expensive, multi-million-dollar homes, beautiful. Or you can stay over here and you can have a view of the golf course, and you're right down the street from Westminster's best school. You have parks and trails in your neighborhood. So it really, really just depends on what you're looking for, but you can find luxurious living homes.
Yeah.
You can find affordable homes and townhomes. So we love Westminster because if you come to us and you're looking to buy, it doesn't matter what your budget is. If you're looking in Westminster, we can make it work.
Yeah, pretty much. If you can buy a house in Denver, you can afford at least something in Westminster. And yeah, a lot of condo, townhome options. I don't know if you said that.
There's some great ones, yeah.
Yeah. I also think, you know, the last pro, usually I start with this because it's always so obvious, but there are really good schools in Westminster. Like, yeah, some A-rated schools, some very, very highly rated schools. But then I'm going to say that leads to the first con, which is that there are also some not very highly rated schools, and that can feel a little bit convoluted as you are trying to navigate Westminster. Like, okay, where in Westminster do I have to live to access one of those good schools? Obviously, that's stuff that we can help you with when the time comes.
Yeah, we'll never let you buy a home without telling you what the schools are like.
Yeah.
However, when people are just scrolling Westminster, I know that it's gotten kind of a bad rep because there are some not great schools.
Yeah, and it can feel a little overwhelming, you know, looking at it on the map. For one, also wacky borders. So strange. And so you're like, well, what school does this one go to, etc. That can be a little bit annoying, but, you know, all in all, generally very good schools. I think another con that you were talking about, where I'm like, yeah, that's super true, is there's not really a charming downtown. And which, I mean, on the one hand, there's tons of suburbs without a charming downtown.
Right.
But we do help a lot of people who want that. They want access to that charming downtown where they can, you know, grab coffee, meet with friends, meet with family, something like that.
And not to say that you can't, like there is a million coffee shops and restaurants here. It's just, when we say downtown, a lot of people are looking for that like quaint little downtown with family owned coffee shops and restaurants. And we don't have like, there's no old town Westminster here where there's a street with all these cool little shops and restaurants.
Yeah.
There are shops and restaurants everywhere. It's just a little more commercialized.
Yeah. And I would say, well, that kind of leads into what I always just call is like, it's classically bland in a suburban sense. You know, it's like, there's just like not a whole lot of charm, a whole lot of character anywhere. I mean, there are some beautiful homes, don't get me wrong, but commercial spaces, it's a lot of chains, it's a lot of, you know, stuff that you could get a lot of other places. Again, the reality is that that's actually extremely convenient to live in. But to get your culture, to get your charm, you're gonna have to go somewhere else, like in Nevada, like Denver, like Boulder, something like that.
Another con about Westminster is, and this depends on who you are, but a lot of people love not having an HOA. We think that can be a con, and that's why it's especially important to work with your realtor on these neighborhoods, because some of the neighborhoods that don't have those HOAs that are older, just as a whole neighborhood, have kind of just gone downhill. Backyards look like junkyards, and I don't know if it's people are abandoning the houses or the people living in them are just getting older and just don't really care about upkeep. But there are some neighborhoods or just individual houses in certain neighborhoods that just look run down, and you don't want to buy a house next to a house where, you know, it looks like it's completely abandoned and creepy and like a junkyard. So that can happen in neighborhoods that don't have HOAs. A lot of neighborhoods in Westminster don't have HOAs unless you're in one of the communities like we are right now. So that can be a con.
Yeah, I think just be aware of that. Know that some areas without an HOA are great. There's a high pride of ownership. Like throughout it, there's no HOA and people like it that way. But there are also spots without an HOA and people really take advantage of that, right? And they don't care for their home, which I think is maybe another con of Westminster's. Because of the HOA thing, the pro is that maybe you cannot have an HOA, but the con is that some of those areas have a lower pride of ownership being fairly evident to them.
Sometimes having a few rules is a good thing.
Yeah.
Just a few.
True. And then I think the last little nitpick con, which some people might be like, this is awesome, is that if you are, if you're living in the western section, that western half, the further west you go, the less convenient it gets, the more out there it starts to feel.
Yeah, I know we've said it depends a lot, but depending on where you are in Westminster, if you're closer to the mountains, that southwest area, beautiful, great place to live, but it's not right off the freeway. You will have to go through some more stoplights to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all we have for pros and cons. So let's go for a drive. We're gonna talk through some other spots that you might want to consider if you like what you see. All right, y'all, usually I do this outro while I'm out there in it, doing it, seeing it, and that file appears to not be able to play back. So sorry about that. But as always, if you're moving to Denver, or you're thinking about moving to Denver, or you already live here and you're trying to buy a home, then get a hold of us, and we would absolutely love to help you through that process. You can go to our website, welcometodenver.co. We have a contact form there that you can fill out in like 30 seconds or less. Or you can shoot us an email directly to info@welcometodenver.co. They lead to the same inbox, so it's totally up to you how you do it. We just ask that you do, and look forward to getting the show on the road and helping you make it all happen. And as always, if you haven't done so yet, subscribe to the channel, click the bell to get notified, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.